Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror film, The Seeding. The film is written and directed by Barnaby Clay and it stars Scott Hayes and Caitlin Sheil. And the film focuses on Scott Hayes' character, Wyndham. We meet him at the beginning of the film. He's driving out into the desert. I don't know if it looks like Arizona or something like that. He's driving out in the middle of nowhere. He's getting out. He's a photographer and things like that. And he wants to kind of wait and film like an eclipse. So he's found his place. He takes these footage of this eclipse, and as he's heading back to his car, he sees a child that claims it's lost. So he agrees to help try and find the child's parents, but the child leads him in the complete opposite direction and then abandons him. Out of desperation, if you like, it gets dark, he's looking for somewhere for shelter, and he climbs down a ladder that leads him down to the bottom of like a canyon where he sees like a hut where someone appears to be living. He goes in, asks for help. The lady in there, who's a bit weird, says you can stay the night, don't worry about it, you can go in the morning. When he gets up in the morning, he realises that he's trapped. The ladder's gone and there is no way out of this canyon. This leads him to try any which way he can to try and get out of this canyon before he comes to the realisation that he may be there for other sinister reasons. Right. What are my thoughts on The Seeding? This film has a little bit of a Hills Have Eyes vibe to it. I mean, it's got some quite startling imagery going on in this film that it's like it's trying to give you that vibe. I mean, the first thing you see when this film comes on is like a child nibbling on a decapitated finger. And while that doesn't necessarily pay off or tie into the rest of the film, not strictly speaking, it's a way to get you in, get your attention for sure. And there's other imagery throughout the film that kind of do that too. But the horror in this film really comes from the situation that this guy finds himself in, this Wyndham. A normal, average, everyday guy that's in this situation. He's trapped at the bottom of this canyon with a woman who is a bit too welcoming, a very odd, and surrounded by what appear to be like feral children that won't let him up. He can't get up. The tease, but occasionally like drop supplies and things like that, and he just can't. Initially, he just can't come to terms with the fact that, and he try put himself in that situation, it would drive you around the bend because you'd be so desperate to get out, but there's nothing you can do. You can't get out. He tries climbing out, no luck. He tries everything he can think of, and it just doesn't work. So he has to come to terms with where he is. And even though I'm not going to say what kind of time lapse takes place in the film, how long he's trapped there for, it's not a few days. Like, I'm just going to say that much. So you could imagine like the mental torture that it would put you through, and then the ultimate acceptance that, okay, I'm here. I'm going to have to make do with what I've got here. And it gets more sinister, and then occasionally it gets a bit tender. He tries to connect with the woman. He tries to connect with some of the kids on the hillside. And it just all it feels like keeps getting thrown back in his face. Everything he tries to do that keeps him human, if you like, doesn't pay off. And he's trying desperate to cling on to his humanity here. And you can see him slowly, that humanity slowly slipping, and his mental state slowly slipping. And it's a fascinating journey really to go on with this character. And it's supported by an incredible central performance by Scott Hayes. I don't recall seeing him in anything before, but I hope, if you like, people see this performance because it is a very, very impressive performance by him. Spiraling into madness, and you just see the hysteria that is in both in the early days, the hysteria and the frustration of the situation that is in, and then later on in the film, the hysteria in the case of his, insanity taking over. I mean, it's in many ways it's quite a powerful film. However, there isn't anything beyond that, if that makes sense. There's endless scenes of him interacting with the woman in the hut. There's endless scenes of him interacting with the children, or if you like, on the hillside above him. And it's kind of that, and that's it. And him getting frustrated, him getting angry, and that's it. It all takes place in that one location, so it's quite insular in how it presents itself, the film. It's not a traditional horror. You could argue it's more thriller than horror, but there are absolutely horror elements to this film. There's no denying that too. I quite enjoyed it. I don't think it's for everybody. I like the performances here. I like the idea of this film, but if you like, it fails to elevate itself, I think, beyond the 6 out of 10 because like I say, it doesn't expand itself beyond that enclosed environment. And I think if it had have kind of introduced us to maybe a couple more characters that to interact with, it might well have elevated it a little bit more. Certainly, in my opinion, or if they'd have cranked up the horror elements of the film. It would have really hammered it home, some of the intensity of it. But ultimately, I do think it's worth checking out. There is some very, very interesting stuff going on in this film, and it's not your typical horror. So yeah, maybe check it out if anything I've said sounds interesting. So thanks for joining me for this review, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.